Here we go. It's 7. So we're gonna do our quick little healthcare thanks in the fam. This is a big part of our night. We're right across the river from NYU, which is also near Bellevue. So this is a big thing for us. Thank you for joining. I am Kate Holmes, the chef. So excited to be here with the luxury attaché community and all of my friends and followers. Thanks, guys. We are thanking our healthcare workers and about to start making some dumplings. And we really could use some dumplings right now. It's a little gray out there, starting our Memorial Day weekend off a little gray, but I think by Sunday, Monday, it's gonna be okay. And this is the second installment of our International Dough series. On Mother's Day, I was fortunate enough to get to make fresh pasta, my favorite thing in the world. And tonight we're carrying it on with dumplings. And we're gonna make the dough, which is super, super fun. So Chinese dumplings have been around for almost 2,000 years. They probably weren't the first people to make dumplings, but that is, it's what is very popular with everybody. And more importantly, it's a very big part of the Chinese New Year because it signifies happiness, peace, and springtime. And while it's the end of May, we need some happiness in our life. So I'm really glad that we're making these dumplings on this gray Friday afternoon. So thank you so much for being here. Let's get started. So we're making dumplings. So I'm having a beer. This is an IPA. This is a dry hopped with Cascade hops. I would suggest a light IPA like this, or a Saison. Saisons have a little bit more, I want to say maltiness, like a little more sweetness, but if you find like a ginger Saison, that's gonna add some really good aromatics to our dumpling evening. So there you go, enjoy your beer, cheers. I'm Kate Holmes, the chef, and I am the founder of Carried Away Chefs. When we are not doing fun cooking demos for you, we are a catering company in Manhattan. All right, without further ado, the second night of our dumpling series, let's make the dough. So I will tell you that you can buy dumpling wrappers. Here are some right here. These are nice thin guys. You can get the wonton wrappers that are square. You can do that. But I think it's not only is it very satisfying, it's very delicious. These make for some really amazing dumplings. So we're gonna start with a cup and a half of just regular flour. That's what I've got. That's what I've got here. So I'm going to do three of my half cups. So a cup and a half of my regular flour. And then we're going to do the liquid. So this is something that I've learned as I've been learning more and more about different kinds of dough. This is a quarter cup of wine. So we need about a half cup of liquid to make the dough. I have seen recipes that involve wine, and I'm like, why? Oh my gosh. And I actually came across this when I was making some okay, so now I have my I just added water to this to make a half cup of liquid so I can talk and mix at the same time. So I'm going to start adding this liquid into my flour, and I do want to add a pinch of salt, a nice sizable pinch of salt. We want to get a little flavor into this dough. So here's what I've learned though. This is really interesting. I was making pie crust the other day and came across a recipe that said add some vodka to your pie crust. Like, what? Seriously? But I'm like, well, let me delve into this a little deeper. And it says that it doesn't let the glutens develop as strong. So if you know anything about the ins and outs of like how dough develops, the stronger the glutens are, aka the more you work it, the less tender it will be. So the more glutens, the more chewiness. So you want that in a pizza crust, you want that in a baguette. But when you're making like a cake or you're making dumpling wrappers. I was making chicken pot pie when I was doing the dough recipe. So like a pie dough. You don't necessarily want those glutens to be developing as much. So there's different ways to impede that. I knew about flour, I knew about salt, I knew about fat, did not know about the alcohol part of it. So that was really interesting to me. And that made a lot of sense why there was some white wine in my dumpling dough recipe. So while we want to work this dough, we do need the dough to be strong because it's going to be holding in a lot of our filling, which is kind of liquidy at times and has a good amount of moisture. It's going to be steaming. We also want it to be nice and tender and have like a good bite to it. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. And now officially in my world, there is vodka in my pie dough recipe. And I don't feel bad about that because vodka's not something I'm just going to swill out of the bottle. It's one thing I won't. But no judgment if you will. I mean, whatever, So I'm not going to say I did not necessarily try the wine before I put it in my dumpling wrapper dough. Okay, so we have our dumpling dough. And you can see I'm just working it here. I do these things by hand. It's how I keep myself strong. This is my workout. I mean, this is legit how I work out. So I don't feel bad about not having a KitchenAid mixer. I also make things in small quantities, so it's like not a huge deal to do it. If you're doing a lot more of dough, it might be a little bit harder. So I'm working this dough. I'm gonna pour it out on this counter for 1 minute. And then we're just gonna keep going for a little bit because we just want it to get smooth. We're really just going for smoothness. Does not have to take a long time. We want these dumplings to be nice and tender, nice and chewy. We're not looking to like go crazy on the gluten content. We have wine to help us. I mean, who doesn't need a little wine to help them sometimes, Don't feel bad. So I think this is good. So like we want it, it's getting smooth. It's not like totally smooth, but that's fine. It's gonna relax. We're gonna let it chill. It's not coming right out of the gates for us. But this is like, it's springy. It's bouncing back a little bit. Like we're pushing it, it's bouncing back. We can go, it is good to hang on to that flour. It's a little bit sticky. I might run it through that flour one more time. Cause like, honestly, like we want to be able to work with it later. So we don't want to be all stressed if it's going to stick to the board and whatever. But it does need time to rest. Don't we all, right? Self-care, dough care, it's all the same thing. So let's put this plastic, I got some plastic, and we're just going to pop that guy over right there. We will let this guy rest. I will wash off my hands and we're going to make the filling. So tonight we are going to make two different fillings. We're gonna make a veggie filling and a pork filling. And whenever I have to do anything that's like multitasky or like not just completely cut and dry, that's when I really like to, start thinking, how can I make this easier? So I'm gonna build the base of my filling together. I'm gonna build both fillings at the same time. So I have my skillet heating up. We're gonna make this filling. So my aromatics, right? We're gonna start with a little bunch of aromatics, and that is celery. You can see I've got a rib of celery. I got 2 ribs of celery here. And I'm gonna run my knife through these bad boys. And then go through it like nice and small. And then we're gonna mince them up. Mince them up like this. 2 ribs of celery. And this is gonna make our 2 different fillings. We're kind of making like a half recipe here. So we have our celery right there. And now I have scallions. I'm using these for 2 different things. So we're gonna use the scallion bottoms in our filling because we're cooking down the filling. So we're gonna take the scallions and we're gonna lightly slice the whites. And when I say whites, I always get confused because recipes are always calling for whites and greens and scallions. I mean like the onion part. So even where it starts to turn green, like if it's still like kind of oniony and not chivy, we're gonna call that the white of our scallion because we want to cook that down a little bit. And then the rest of them we will cook, you know, we'll chop those up in a second. But for the time being, I'm gonna have these as the beginning of my aromatics. And aromatics, generally in the chef world, we call them anything that's like, you know, garlic, ginger, onions, the things that are really there to add the flavor, you know? So I'm gonna take some sesame oil. This is toasted sesame oil. It has a low smoking point, so you don't wanna put it in a super, super hot pan. If you do, you wanna add a little like olive oil or grapeseed or something like that. So we're gonna pop that guy in there and then add these. So while this starts to cook down, always when we're sauteing or sweating, as they call it, anything, we're gonna put some salt in because that helps draw the water content out. So we're gonna cook that down a little bit. And then the other portion of our aromatics this evening is garlic and ginger. And I will show you what I'm gonna do with all of this. Now, you don't have to, you can chop it, but I like to use a microplane or like a very fine grater on my garlic and ginger because A, it's easier, and B, it makes it super fine and the flavor really permeates throughout. Because you wouldn't want to put this in here all chopped up, you know, like big pieces and chunks, because some people would get massive bites and other people would not even get that flavor at all. So in order to alleviate if you have a really great skill at teeny tiny mincing everything, then like don't worry about it and go for it. But if you don't, use this grater. You can see it's really pulverizing. So if you're afraid of strong garlic flavor, maybe this isn't for you. But we're just gonna take this ginger and we're gonna take this garlic and we're just gonna go through here. And especially too, these things get stuck in the back. So don't think you were working in vain. It's there. It's right there. So I'm gonna take my finger and just push that out. And take this, and we're gonna just pop that right here. And you can see it's starting to cook down. The celery and the scallions are cooking down. So I'm gonna let those cook down just a little bit more while we keep going with these fillings. So it's gonna cook. Now again, like we have to remember, like this is what I'm here to teach you, is these little tiny multitasking steps where we can just make it easier. So I have my green tops, I got my cutting board, it's still here. We're gonna mince these green tops down. And what I am doing here, because I told you I was building a veggie filling as well as a pork filling. Maybe I did. Did I tell you that? I told you. I meant to tell you that. So that's what we're doing here tonight. Because Chinese dumplings generally are pork or vegetable. There's a lot of different iterations. You can get like shrimp shumai. There's so many things. But traditionally we're looking at like pork and scallion or like veggie. And of course that will keep everybody happy. So, but here's the key. I have two prep bowls. And I'm gonna take my scallions that I just cut. I'm gonna put half in there and half in there. And we're gonna do the same. I have some cilantro right here. This is gonna go in as a flave later, but we're gonna do it now because we're here and we have something cooking. So we're gonna keep building our bowls. So I'm just mincing this up. Mincing. And then the same thing. Half in here, half in there. And you know what? The reason I've done it this way is because eventually we are going to get into some flavors that aren't going in both. And again, at home you're probably doing one or the other. But this is good to think about because a lot of times we are like doing two different recipes that both have scallions. So like why not just get in the habit of like chopping it all at the same time, you know? So, okay. Okay, so this is going well. This is cooking down. It is almost as tender as I want it to be. We just want it nice and soft. So the reason, it would be easy to chop everything up. So as I'm talking, I have these broccoli stems that I'm gonna put in my veg filling. And they are a little burly on the outside. So what I'm actually doing is just, this is a good way to use, we don't really cook these when we're cooking our broccoli, you know, florets for the kids. We don't always use these stems. And this is a great way to do this, to utilize this. We're gonna make our delicious filling. We're gonna use, so I just cut down the burly outside of those. You see how there's like some of those like filaments and stuff? And then we're gonna take a piece of carrot, and then we're gonna take some mushrooms. Where did they go? They're in here somewhere. And so the reason why, these are my shiitakes, the reason we're cooking all the vegetables down, it would be easy to just grind them up and just put them in the dumplings, but you can't control the moisture content. When you're doing anything that's vegetable based, a lot more liquid comes out as it cooks. So it tends to get a lot wetter. If you cook it first, you get some of the moisture out, and then you can kind of gauge where you're at. Is it too wet? Is it too not? Like if you just put all the raw vegetables in and then cooked it, it would probably just turn to mush. So by cooking it first, we have more control. We're developing those flavors. It's amazing. But the way to make that super easy on us is, for my veg filling, I'm gonna use a grater. And I really love this. Like in my family, we're putting mushrooms in a lot of things lately. You can hide them. Like if you grate it, you can like hide it. So we're grating this carrot, right? This is just like an easy way to get a really fine chop on some vegetables that you otherwise like don't really feel like chopping. Or if you don't have like a food processor, or you're just doing a small batch, you're like, I'll have to clean that food processor and I don't feel like it. Like that's often my world, is that I'm like, it's easier for me to just clean off this grater than like every piece of my blades and food processor and everything. So these are my broccoli stems, grating it up. See, here we go. We're making our little pile here. And we got our mushrooms. So mushrooms, I love grating mushrooms, because who wants to chop mushrooms? My husband, Harper, shout to Harper, has been making meatballs, and he is now putting mushrooms in them, and he's grating them. And it's like, our kids are okay with eating, but if your kids are not, like, they won't see it. Like, we are just putting straight up vegetables into things using our handy dandy little cheese grater. Not a big deal, totally easy. Okay, enough of the filling. Let's get this cooking. So we're gonna take half of this filling. So my aromatics, I've got these beautiful, you can almost smell that in there. Half's going in one bowl. We'll keep the other one in there, actually, the vegetable, because now we're gonna put the vegetables in. These guys, we're gonna put them in and cook them down with some salt. And then, because we thought this through, we're done chopping. Actually, you know what? No, we're done chopping. We're putting this away. Now we're back to our work surface. Isn't that nice? Like, now we're done. No more chopping. Mom is done. Oh my gosh.
The dishes are done.
Dishes are done, man. So, but the one thing I do want to remember is that we do need a little bit of scallion and a little bit of cilantro for our dipping sauce later. So I'm just going to take a teeny tiny pinch out of that. I'm going to leave that right there. Always got to plan ahead, guys. Always got to plan ahead. So so I'm going to just put a little salt in the veg filling right here. And we're going to keep that cooking. So let's let's take our pork. We have some ground pork. We're gonna add it right to our bowl of cooked down aromats, as well as the cilantro and scallions. We're gonna add some tamari to this. Okay, enough to season it. We're gonna add a little bit more of that sesame oil. We still need to salt, even though we put the tamari in there, because there's all that pork in there. So we definitely need to season that.
What's tamari?
And tamari is gluten-free soy sauce. It's just a different method of the soy sauce cookingness. So, but if you're gluten-free, you're gonna see tamari. It's beautiful. It's got nice deep flavor. But if you have soy sauce, same thing, totally fine. We're gonna put a little bit of brown sugar in here because that's gonna help balance our flavor. And I'm kind of using it like salt. I'm kind of just seasoning it, like we're just adding a little balance in there. And then we're gonna either use Chinese wine. I have some sherry. We're just gonna do a little dip in there, add some flavor in there, add our sherry, give this a quick stir. Hi, how you doing, vegetables? You're cooking down lovely. All right, so this is my pork filling, and we're gonna mix this. We're gonna combine this beautiful right here. You don't wanna overwork ground meat when you're making meatballs, pork, filling, anything like this, because it is possible to like just kind of get a little too excited and then it's gonna just be a little bit more tough in there. We just wanna keep it nice and happy. So we're gonna move that to the side here. So let's talk about the dough. So the dough, we needed it to rest for 15 minutes because so we did develop the glutens, even though we had our friend the wine to help us not develop them as strongly, but we did develop them and they just need to chill. Like it's not like gluten developing is bad, like we need it, but we also need them to chill a little bit. So now we have our beautiful piece of dough right here. And we want to take these into pieces that if you have a scale, great. It's a ½ ounce. A ½ ounce, I think, makes a really nice size. That is about this much. It's about 1 inch across, 1.5 inches. I mean, that looks kind of big in the camera, but it is like, that's about a ½ inch. And we're gonna take this dough and make it into some balls. Now, if you make the dough, if you rip it off like I just did, we do want to roll it back into a ball first because that's going to make it roll into a nice little circle. And if you have a nice small rolling pin, that will be helpful as well. Now we should stop right here and make sure that we have an egg. So the amount that I am making today does not require a whole egg, which is great because we need the rest of the egg. We need the rest of the egg as the egg wash. So let's get that ready because we're gonna need that for that veg filling. I don't put it in the pork filling, but we can put that in the veg filling. And you can see over here, the veg filling is cooking down lovely. While it's doing this, we will put a little bit of our sherry in there. And we will put a little bit of our tamari or soy sauce, whatever you prefer. We will put a little bit in that. And that way, when this comes off the heat, it's ready to go. So, we're gonna build these dumplings. They're gonna be super great. I'm gonna take this egg. I'm gonna beat this up. So this is gonna work as our the egg wash to close our wrappers, as well as the a little bit of a binder for our vegetable dumplings. So if you have a regular size rolling pin, no big deal. But if you've got a mini, I mean, A, it's easier, and B, it's adorable. So we're gonna take this, and we're gonna take our little balls of dough, and it's so easy. They roll down really quickly. You want them to be a little bit sticky because they pull and they roll down faster, which is great. But you're also like, you can keep, we don't want to put a ton of flour in there, but we can like flour the work surface a little bit. You want them pretty thin. Now the cool thing about working with dough that you've made is that it's extremely malleable. So while it's a little bit of extra effort to make the dough from scratch, you actually have a ton more forgiveness when you're making these dumplings. And I'll show you why. Because these wrappers that come from the store, they're awesome. Like, they're totally pre-made. They're so great. But they don't stretch. So when the filling goes on here, we don't get as much forgiveness as, like, you have to kind of be exact about it. But the dough that we're making here, it is actually really beautiful. And then you get like a little more bite. So I would say if you have the time, you've got the equipment, you've got the flour and the water. I mean, skip the wine. If you don't have the wine, skip the wine. Like, it's fine. We can always like do things without every single ingredient that a recipe might tell you. I was just super excited because I learned that thing about the alcohol and the glutens and the dough. And since this is the International Dough Series, I mean, this is when we're learning about dough. It's amazing. So we're gonna take this, and I'm gonna grab this filling because it's perfect. So I have the bowl, right? The bowl with the other aromatics in there. And I'm just gonna mix this in. And that's gonna cool down a little bit. And then we're gonna add this half of the egg. Like, just half the egg, because I'm kind of doing a half recipe because I split the two. Normally, we could just add the whole thing. And you can go on the Carried Away Chef's blog to actually get the amounts. But I really just want to show you how to look at it in the sense of, like, we're building the ingredients, we're seasoning the ingredients. You don't necessarily have to be measuring everything. We did measure the flour, but in terms of building the fillings, like, we can kind of approximate some of these ratios and everything. So now we have these nice wrappers, and these were about a ½ ounce in weight to make them. And then we're doing about 3/4 of an ounce of the filling, but really we're just looking to plop it down in the middle. And now we do have to think a little bit about the shape that we're going to be making, because that's going to kind of facilitate how we put it down there. So I noticed, like, if I'm making 2 different flavors, I kind of want to do 2 different shapes so that the guests or your family or whoever will know what's inside. So for the porks, I'm gonna make them in circles. And then the veggie, we're going to make that like the little football, like the gyoza that you picture, So that, I didn't add the egg. Let's do that. Let's make sure, do it right or do it twice, right? So let's add that egg. Perfect. And we will take this, mix that up, and this is just going to bind all of our lovely vegetable ingredients together right here. So we want to put that down more wide because that's how we're going to shape that one. We don't want to not have any deliciousness in there, So I actually I'm gonna plop these guys in. I did these earlier. We're gonna start cooking these right now as we build these other ones. But you can see I did the porks. This is the store-bought wrapper. This is my wrapper. And then these are the veggies in a store-bought wrapper. And then my wrapper, see? So we're gonna put these in, and they take about 8 minutes. So we're just gonna pop those and cook them off. So as we're building here, we need a brush, a pastry brush. And once you have the filling down, we want to go just along all the edges. Now we don't want to get this like super, super wet because that's going to it's just going to make it hard to close. Like the more we want egg in there, but we don't want it like an omelet that we're trying to fold in half. That's just going to make it complicated. So we want a little egg. And then for my veggie ones, I'm going to make these like those long gyozas. I'm going to take this up in the middle here. I'm going to take this up in the center, and then I'm just going to pinch it along. You don't have to pick it up to do this, but I want you to see this. So we're going to pinch that, right? Like this. We're going to pinch that here. Whoop. Pinch that here, pinch that here, pinch that there. You see how wet that veggie filling is? I mean, vegetables just have such a high moisture content that's why we have to cook that, or else it's just gonna make for like a really weird consistency. So we're gonna pinch these guys. Well, I keep doing that, sorry. And we're gonna make it so cute. But yeah, again, like if it's too much egg and too much moisture, like it just makes it hard to seal. And ultimately you want that, see how it's like kind of hard to seal the veggie ones? We want that to close. And then the pork, for the pork, we're gonna do the fun little circle shape. So we're gonna just start and go around the edges and use our thumb to kind of tuck some of this filling back in, right? So like, and don't make it tight until you're all the way around. We're just gonna push it in, push it in, push it in. Use your thumb if it's sticking out. And then we're just gonna pinch that. I think these are really fun. I mean, they just look so cute. You can't really screw that shape up. It's like so cute. And then same with this guy. Like we're just gonna pop this together, right? Pop that in, and like I've got my thumb there to kind of join it, you know, push the filling back in as I'm putting that together. And then once everything is up, you're like, oh, okay, I've got my little purse right here. And then you're good to go. And then you can just put them into your steamer like that. And again, they steam for 8 minutes. That's enough to get the dough tender and cooked and perfect. And we're gonna take our scallions, our cilantro. We're gonna take some Chinese black vinegar. If you don't have that, use balsamic. You can cut it with something else. It doesn't. This vinegar doesn't have a very high acidity, so you want to use balsamic. It doesn't have a very high acidity as well. You can cut a little apple cider or red wine into it. But we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna take a little bit of our sesame oil, put that in, right? And we have a dipping sauce now. Dipping sauce is lovely. These are what I made before. These are my little dumpling doodles. So excited. And my spoon for my sauce. And I mean, they're adorable. They're totally adorable. I'm gonna get the other guys out right now.
How long are the other guys in for? Steam for 8 minutes, and what was the other one?
8 minutes, both of them. 8 minutes. The veggies need time to sit. The pork will be done in that time. They need that much time. This has only been 4. Let's see. I think it's perfect. All right, I'm kidding. The veggies can cook in 6 minutes. Look at that. Those are gorge. But you know what? This is the store-bought wrapper. And the store-bought wrapper, like when you're pulling it up over the sides, like check this out. When you're pulling it up over the sides, you don't get as much give. Like if you're like, oh, there's too much, like you're kind of just like stuck. Like it's kind of, and then you start pinching it and then it can rip. So you like, as much as it seems like, oh my gosh, if I make it at home, it's going to be really hard. It actually, you can pull it and you like can work with it a little bit more. But again, these are really nice too. I mean, that makes for a really cute little dumpling. We can pop that into our steamer. And then here is our pork guy. And I didn't mention the steamer. So I don't have like a traditional steamer basket. I have this, you know, the steamer that we use for vegetables. And it works great. Totally works lovely. You know, that little steamer insert, we gave it a spray. Gave it a spray with canola oil, and it was lovely. And again, 6 minutes if it's veg, 8 if you're trying to cook the meat through. But it's delicious, and I really hope that everybody will try to make some dumplings, because it's really fun to try new cuisines or try your favorite cuisine at home. A lot of times we don't think we can make something we've had at a restaurant, and then you realize it's actually really easy and it's really fun. It gives us something to do. So thank you for tuning in. I am Kate Holmes, the chef, no Ellen Holmes, of Carried Away Chefs with my friends at Luxury Attaché. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate spending my Friday nights with you. And thanks for tuning in to the second edition of the International Dough Series. Have a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day.